Welcome back to part 2 of Manny's makings. We're making this heart, remember from yesterday? Let me flip it around so you can see it properly here. We're making this heart and we're going to finish it off today by beading around the outside and hanging a dangle from the center. So let's get started. I'm trying some new, just so you know, I'm trying some new camera filters to see if I can get it so that it's a little bit better for you guys. So please let me know in your comments below, you know, down there. Like and save if you're learning anything from this. Comment, please. I'm learning. I'm trying to figure out how to make better settings. So today you're going to need size your heart that you worked on yesterday. You're going to need your size 11 seed beads and size 8 seed beads, and any color that you want. I'm just happened to pick this one. As you can see, there's like rose and like copper and bronze are sort of mixed together to sort of keep it in the same family as this hematite silver plated wire from ParaWire. And you will need some 26 gauge from ParaWire to that was big, holy, so that you can, let me zoom out a bit here. Now my zoom is on my camera, so I have to touch my camera to be able to zoom. So anyways, that's what you're going to need today to do the finishing of the job. So we're going to start with a length of wire. Because we're going to be feeding the wire in and out of, let me see if I can get this nice and close for you, in and out of these little spaces that we've made on the tops of, between these double wraps on the top, we're going to need shorter lengths of wire, because when you pull it through, first of all, it'll take the coating off if you pull it through really hard. Secondly, it makes it harder to do, so it's much easier if you just do this slowly and steadily and use shorter lengths of wire. So I'm going to start with what I call half an arm's length. So basically I'm going to go from the, again, remember I showed you yesterday, I just stick my thumb in the thing and then find the end, which is right here, and then I just pull until this time I'm going to go from the middle of my chest to the end of my arm, so I don't have quite as long to work with. So there we go. I got that length of wire. I need my wire cutters. You won't need your wire snips like you had yesterday, and it doesn't really matter at this point where you cut it because you're going to be trimming those anyways. Let's get the wire out of the way. We'll get this out of the way, and we'll get the bigger beads out of the way because I will knock them everywhere with the wire. I know me. Oh yeah, you're going to need that little jump ring that I talked to you about the other day. Called it an O-ring, silly girl. Jump ring that I talked to you about the other day. You're going to need all of those things. So first of all, we have to start the wire. Hopefully we can get this really well focused for you. I don't know if you can see it. The lighting is much dimmer today, not so bright in your face, so I'm hoping it'll help. So you got to start the wire, and I usually start the wire up here, or you can start from the bottom. The bottom works pretty good, except for I like to bring it around the bottom and back up. So let me see where I can secure this. There's lots of little spaces. So we have this like lovely little spot here from yesterday when we made those little loops in the back. So I think I'm going to start it there. So I'm just going to bend my wire over. I'm going to get to the other end, and I'm going to feed it through. And we're going to wrap around twice, 2 times. So I'm just putting it through that loop again and bringing it around, and I'm watching for kinks. You know, if it looks like it's going to kink on me, you know, unwrap it so it won't kink on me. And there's one wrap. So you can see there's one wrap there, but I want it up top, back down, and then I'm going to go back in through that little hole again. Find the end of my wire each time. Oops, sorry about that. Let's see, there we go, got it. And then I'm going to pull through again. Again, I'm watching for kinks. We look like we're okay. And sorry that I moved so much. So there's 2. It's secured down. So I have this little end tail here. So I can definitely cut off the little end tail and get it out of the way. You can leave it till later. I like to do it while I remember. Otherwise, it becomes an issue later. So I'm just cutting this off inside here, best I can, so that it doesn't show and it doesn't poke anybody. There we go. Got it. There's a little piece of wire. So that's all the waste we had on that side. So, sorry, now that I need to bring this around to the front. So I'm going to take this first space here that I can, just making the end of my wire straight so it works like a really good jabber. And I'm picking this first space in here. It's pretty tight, so find where it'll fit. So I got it in that first space there, because we got to bring it around to the front, and so we can start the beading. So again, I'm being careful not to kink my wire. Sorry, I keep going off screen. I got this really tight. So we're ready for our first set of beads. So depending on the bead and depending on the size of the bead you use, this wire is thin enough it can go through any kind of bead, but depending on the bead size that you use, you have to make sure. Basically what I want to do is span to here. So whatever amount of beads that takes. And the first time I do it with a new set of beads, I figure this is going to take 2, maybe 3. So I'm going to put them on the wire, and I'm going to bring them all the way down the wire, if they cooperate with me. And I'm going to take a look and say, okay, does this span that gap? Yes, it does. So that spans that gap to the middle of it. So I'm good with that one. So I've come out the back, I put 2 beads on, that's what's spanning that gap, and now I got to come back down through. I'm going to move some of these pliers I have in the way because my wire gets caught on everything. And there we go. So again, I'm pulling carefully, slowly, till I get to near the end, and then I go even slower, and I pull. So there's your first 2 beads, and I just bring them up, make sure they're good and tight, and I push against them, push that little wire against them. I'm pulling pretty tight. I'm setting the sort of parameters of how these beads are going to sit, what they're going to look like. So I want them to be nice on there. It looks like I could have used a third one. So I don't know. See, you can see the space in between there where you can see some wire. I misunderstood. So I'm pushing this back out because it's not over till it's over. And I'm not going to panic. And I'm going to put another one on. So it looks like this particular space needs 3, so I'm putting another bead on. Bringing it down to the end. So now I have 3 on here. I'm going to put it back through that little gap the same way as I did before. Carefully and gently. So basically I'm sewing on these beads. That's what I'm doing. I'm sewing on these beads. Now bring all 3 beads up, push, and pull. There we go. So that filled that space. I don't have any wire showing. I'm happy with that. So we do it again because we're coming up from the bottom, and I'm just making sure my wire is nice and flat so the beads can fly down as I go. I'm going to pick up 3 more beads from this pile. And I'm not caring which ones I'm picking up. I'm just picking up 3 beads. Now, if you get to a space where it feels like the 3 beads are too much. Now, one of the things I do is when I have this here, I don't know if you can see this, is I take it and I just stick my fingernail against it a little bit so that when I bend this, it's going to the middle of the next one. And I sort of push, I'm pushing with my thumbnail, so I know that it's going to go where I want it to go. So I'll go down the middle of this one, between these wires. Sometimes it can be fussy, and if it's fussy, then you have to open it up, and you can use a needle, you can use another piece of wire. I do not have a needle auger, so let's see. what I can use. That's what I have floating around here. That's a little bit on the big side. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Shake everything, scrap everything. I might not have enough space in there now. It's better if you have a needle. There we go. So I got it in. Yay! So again, I'm coming around, watching that my wire is not going to kink, like that. If it is, I take it and I sort of really round it so that it doesn't give me any kind of hassles at all. And I put the next set on. So there's 2 sets. I'll show you again, see if I can make sure I stay on frame this time. This lighting doesn't seem to be as bright, and it doesn't seem to be as focusy, so I don't know what's going on here. Let's bring this down and get it a little bit more light. See if I can get it focused so you can see what I'm doing. So I put 2 sets of beads on. So I put the 1 set here, and then the 2nd set here. So there's 2 sets of beads, and now I get to span to the next space between these 2 that are together and those 2 that are together. Okay, so 3 more beads. Whoop. Chasing my beads around the board. My autofocus is not working where it's not today. And I do not know why. So again, I'm going to bring them all the way down the wire. And remember I said I push sort of against this so that it bends it a bit. Find the little hole that it goes in. Okay, so let's see if I can do this nice and tight. Okay, so pull this back out. I have the 3 beads on right here. There's the 3 beads. The wire's coming up from behind. I'm holding my finger here, this finger here, sort of supporting those beads. And then I'm finding the little hole here that it's got to go in. So I found the hole between those 2 sets of wires. And this is not focusing. It's not. The autofocus is not working. There we go. So that's where you got to go. And then I'm going to pull. Try not to catch my pliers. Pull. Gently pull. And I'm watching. See the loop? I'm watching it. I'm watching it. It's good. And I'm going to pull hard and then flatten the beads, and I'm pushing against them both from the back and the front to flatten them out because I want them to be nice and flat and nice and tight. So I'm pulling pretty good. I got a good grip of this. I sort of have it in my hand like this, the rest of it, and I'm pulling and pulling. Now you could use pliers if you needed to. That's up to you. Whatever. I'll see if I can get this dang thing to focus. There we go. Let's move this out of the way so it stops trying to focus on that stupid little bead in the back. So that's another set. And I'm going to continue to do this all the way around, and I'll meet you back when I'll put it in fast forward, and I'll meet you back, talk to you some more when I get to the bottom. Okay, actually I lied. I can see that if I span this space with that, it's really going to start causing a problem. So I'm going to go down to 2 beads instead of 3. And I think I'm going to be much happier. And I think I'm going to do 2 beads all along the side till I get to the bottom, because I'm much happier with that span. Time I put the wire in, and it, takes up some space to do the wrap. So I'm going to go back down to 2. Okay. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I sort of hit the corner. This is the last set of beads that are going on so that I hit the corner. Make sure you scrunch down really good and tight. Make sure everybody's happy all the way along. I'm happy with that so far. Alright, so let's take a look at what we've got so far. See if I can get it to autofocus. If it won't autofocus, I'll focus it myself. There we go. There we go. So this is what we have so far. I'm down to the bottom. I just brought the wrap around and that's it. So now we got to bridge this gap. So I need to figure out how many beads it takes to bridge the gap. Because I just want to do it as one thing. I don't want to do it as a bunch of things. So I'm going to grab some beads and I'm going to just, I'm guessing 3 or 4. So let's try, I prefer an odd number. So let's take a look and see what 3 looks like against that space. 1, 2, 3. Nope, I think I can get away with 5. See how 3 sort of takes it to the point? So if I do 5, I can go past the point. Now, if you're going to hang something at this point, at the bottom, rather than leaving the beads at the bottom, you would just wrap this around this bottom wire. Just coil it around the bottom wire to get to the next side here, and then hang whatever you're going to hang off of that coiled wire. Or you can even bring your wire up to the second wire here and coil around that wire and get that out of the way so this wire is bare for the dangly. It's your choice. You're the creator, you're the artist, you're the person making your piece of jewelry, and you have to be happy with it. And that's the bottom line. It's not about whether or not anybody else is happy, it's about whether or not you're happy with what you're doing. So as I can see, there's 5, and I'm much happier with the spacing there. It's going to take me just before this, which is where I want to be. Because then I got to come back up and around the other side. So let me take this down through here, through this space. Now, there's another thing too, is if you're, whoops, oh, almost get a kinky. Look, almost get a kinky. So, slow down. Come on, Manny, slow down. So, if you're worried about your beads laying absolutely flat and never changing, you can actually bring your wire up. See if I can get this to focus so I can show you this. There we go. It's supposed to autofocus. So you can bring your wire up through this space here and sort of knot it. It's hard to explain. It's like if you're doing, you know, when you go around and then through and around and through and around and through, you can do that as well. That will keep them nice and flat. It's your choice on how you want to do this. But for me, this is simpler for what I am doing. That one bead, it doesn't want to come around. There we go. So again, I'm holding it really nice and tight and flat. I'm actually bringing this wire sort of around to make sure it holds it where I want it to. I'm happy with those 5 there. Yeah, I'm quite happy with those 5 there. They look like they're doing pretty good, and we're going to start the next set. It looks like there's a little more spacing on this side, so I'm going to have to watch. If you ever need to put 3 on one because there's not enough beads as you're going around, don't hesitate to do that. You can put an extra bead. It's not written in stone. You can only put 2 beads, and that's it. Manny says. Manny's not the expert. Manny is just somebody learning. Is a lifelong learner. I got my I got a master's degree, and I got that in 2000 and change. And I am retired. So I haven't stopped learning my entire life. And so this is what it's looking like so far. Let me just see if I can get this to focus in on it. I can make the camera focus. Come on, camera! You can do it! There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Hopefully that's focused for you. So that's what we have so far, and I'm going to continue on the other side. I'm going to fast forward through that. You can see me do it, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're almost done. So let's take a look at where we're at. We are almost done, thank goodness. So I don't know if they can see that. There we go. We have one last space to go to bridge between the two. So there we go. So one last space to go, and that space is right there. So I'm going to do that last space with you. So again, it's 3 more beads. So I'm taking 3 beads from the pile. I just made my wire just like a little fish hook, because otherwise when I go fishing they were popping off, and that wasn't really annoying. So down to 3. Hopefully you can't hear that wire scratching too badly. Whoops, where's the 3rd one? I don't see it. I guess I lost one without realizing it. So let me get one more, because I only see 2. So I'm Canadian, by the way, guys, if you haven't figured it out. It was hiding on the wire. Okay, let's take the one off. There we go. I'm Canadian, by the way. I don't say A every 4 seconds, which is really good. Yay! So I'm putting it, see if I can get this where you can actually see it. Maybe up here, if I can get it to autofocus. Come on, baby, focus for me. Okay, so I'm going to go in this last space right here, right there. So I'm going to feed it in. Sorry about the banging against my magnifying light. So I'm pulling it up nice and tight. There we go. So you can see it's balanced on both sides. So now all I have to do is secure it off at the back. Remember how we started it? So I brought it through. So I need to bring that wire through that little loop. I'm bringing it through the loop and pulling, and I want this loop to end up top. Oh, almost got it snagged. Okay, there we go. So that secures that to the top of that. And remember how we went through before? We went through a few times, 3 times. We need to do that again, and then that'll secure the wire off for the wire weaving. And we're almost done, folks. I decided to do this in two parts because I didn't want it to be so long. And I'm sorry about that. Whoop, see, so let's do the bead, the dangle bit. So I have a head pin. It doesn't matter what kind of head pin you pick one that has a flat head. That's what a head pin is. It's a flat head. So it just has a flat head on it. This one happens to be a sort of a stainless steel looking one. Doesn't really matter. I want to start with a small bead, and I need to find one that'll go to the bottom of this head pin, which a lot of these won't, because these head pins are a little heavier gauge than these seed beads. So this may take a minute. We're gonna play with these. See how it won't go down to the bottom? That one goes down to the bottom. Yay, I found one. So we're done with it. Well, not done. So now I need to pick 3 of the bigger beads. So I've got the bigger beads here. Hopefully it'll focus for me. Come on, autofocus. There we go. So I got 3 of the bigger ones here that I'm going to put on here. I figured out my spacing, so I'm going to put, well, let's see, this color one on, because I like it. I like rosy colors, so I'm putting that on, and then I'm just picking one at random. It looks like it's a gold one. So I have 3 beads on here. Pretty simple. I'm going to put a, let's see, how many more would I like to have? I'm going to put 2 more. You can do 1 or 2 more. I think I'm going to do 2 more. Try to find seed beads that fit. Let's see, there's 1. Let's check it against the little heart. See my dangly bits. I think I want to go 1 more. So I'm going to go 1 more. And I like the way that sort of lays in there better. So I'm good. Okay, so now we need to do our wrap loop. You can see how to do those in like 50 bazillion different places. Let's see if I can zoom this in. Oh, this is not going to be cooperative. Sorry, my hand's going to have to get in the way here. Okay, see if I can show you how to do a wrap loop. Get it to autofocus. Come on, baby, you can do it. All right, so I talked to my camera. I'm just taking the tips of my pliers. I'm leaving enough space, the same width as my tip of my pliers. Come on, focus. Let me get these beads out of the background, out of the way. And maybe that'll help and it'll stop being stupid. Come on. Focus, focus, focus. Yeah, it's sort of focused. It's enough that you can see what's going on. Move the heart out of the way. I think my background's clear. Okay. I'm going to just go over. So I'm folding it at a not quite 90-degree, see, angle. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. I'm going to move my pliers up to the top here. And I'm going to bring it all the way around and under. For me, it's under. So until it's tight. And then you've got this loop that sort of looks like this that's sitting on the top. And come on, focus, baby. You can do it. There we go, sitting on the top. So now I have to wrap that around. I actually can work either way, so I'm going to take my pliers and try not to kill the bead, and I'm going to just bring this around with my thumb. And I'm going to wrap as many loops as it takes to get to those beads. So one, I'm trying to push as tight as I can. And that's why I started with a, I think that was a 3-inch long eye pin. I usually buy my eye pins 3 or 6 inches long only because it gives me lots of diversity of what I can do with them. Now that's not as tight as I'd like it to get, and it's, you can see the bead can slip up inside it. So then I get another set of pliers. And I am going to pull with the other set of pliers and wrap. If I can get it tight enough with my thumb, I do with my thumb. Don't be ashamed to do it with. So it looks like it fits in 3 wraps perfectly. So I'm happy with that. So now we have to cut it off, the back of it off. So we get a focus. And I just go in and snip it off as close as I can. Flush side to the piece. Move that piece into the garbage before I end up in trouble. And then I have to take that little tiny tip and I have to squish it down. And this is where I run into trouble all the time. But what I've learned is, I don't know if you're noticing, a lot of people hold it by the other end. I hold it by this end and slowly work my way around the piece. I keep moving the piece. And I know I have round beads on there and it'll slip on the round beads. If I can't get it to go in that way, I will hold it the other way. I find my fat fingers get in the way this way. I have fat fingers. And even when I try to hold it with the pliers, I end up having to hold it so tight that it mars it. So I got it in there, yay! So I don't want that to show from the front. And this is going to be hanging sideways like this. So I'm going to just make sure this is nice and flush the best I can. So just checking out that this is straight. It's not straight for me. Let's see. My bracelet came undone, so let me take it off. Okay. Obviously I have to work on the clasp. So what I'm trying to do is get that so it's that way, because it's going to hang from the loop from that way. So I'm pretty happy with all of that. Yep, I'm good. Okay, so we're going to take our heart, and remember this jump ring that I made? I just made it by making a coil. I'll show you the coil. I made a coil around one of my coil jiggy-majiggies. I have a bigger one. Around one of these, I made this coil. Obviously a bigger size than this. And I just cut them off one at a time. And there's lots of videos out there on how to do that. But basically you have to make one. The first end that you're going to do flush. Let me put this out of here. Make sure the first end's flush. And because this, I want to match the wire exactly, I did it with the wire. So you can see I may have a nice flush Trying to move all this other extra stuff out of the way so the camera doesn't try to focus on it. A nice flush flat edge there. And now this is how I do it, because I want to make sure that they work really well. First of all, I take my thumb and stick it between the two coils, because I don't want to clip the other coil by accident, and my sight's not the greatest. And I take, this has a little groove in it. I don't know if you can see this, it's got a groove in it, and then it's got the flush side. I take and butt that groove right up into, when I have it over the other wire, right up into where I can feel it sort of hitting that other piece right here. When I can feel it hitting that other piece like that, then I make sure they're both flat, and then it's 90 degrees to the wire, and I clip. And what I end up with is a beautifully smooth jump ring. Now, you can buy jump rings, and I do. Most of the time I do. If you need to harden this jump ring, you can bang it around with a rubber mallet or a rawhide mallet on some hard surface that's flat. If you have a bench block, that's great. I do. If you need to harden it, this is not going to have anything tugging on it, so I don't need to worry about anything like pulling really hard on it. Like, it's not gonna, unless you got a little 2-year-old kid at home that's gonna yank on it and stick it in their mouth. So I'm not really worried about it. And this is soft enough wire that and my fingernails and fingers are pretty tough. I'm gonna just open it with my fingers. And if you notice, I just twisted one hand one way, one the other way. You could do it with pliers. You can stick your pliers in one hand, one way and one the other way. So now I'm going to stick it in my heart. I'm going to stick my heart with a O-ring. I'm going to actually stick it through the bail that we made. Okay. And I'm going to stick on this piece. And sorry, I have to check where I can actually see. So this is going to end up hanging. I need it to hang the right way. So I need it to hang that way. Okay, so I've got my piece on, and this is where I use the pliers. So I come in with my one bent nose pliers, and then I have my other pair of needle nose pliers over here, and I take them and I wiggle it back and forth until I feel them touch, and then I touch the top of that to make sure it's nice and smooth. And I have a wonderful little joint. If I'm not sure, if I'm out a little bit, I can double check, but I don't know if you can see that, but that closed pretty dang good. I'm pretty happy with that. And what happens is when you turn this around, you're going to see that this jump ring, there we go, will lay between the two sets of beads, and this dangles from it. And if you look, it's not too long. It'll move. It'll move between the two, and that's what I designed it to do, so that it has some movement on this pendant. I gotta fix this color. It's horrible. Anyways, because this is a beautiful coppery color, or hematite color, and it's quite nice, but hopefully you can see that. So this is what this ends up looking like. So now you just need to put a chain through it, or whatever you want to do. I make handmade chain with the hematite wire, because I can't seem to find a chain anywhere in the world that matches exactly the hematite wire. Let's see if I can get this in closer. So this is what it all looks like, and your wire goes through the top here. Helps if I point at the right thing. Your wire goes, your chain goes through the top here, or your handmade chain can be attached to it there, and then you have this beautiful heart. Now I want to show you the heart that I made, the red one, because that was the one I showed you at the top of the show, and it's quite a bit bigger. You're going to see that it's bigger. I made it longer and bigger. You can make them fatter and shorter. It doesn't really matter. It's what works for you and makes you happy. On this one, you can see that I put more wraps between each spike that I did. So I think I did 4 wraps between each spike instead of just 2. So there's less spikes. It depends on what you want to do. So I have another heart. If you like this video, please hit the like button below down there. Subscribe, please, please, please. I need new subscribers. I also have a Facebook page where I'm going to post what I'm going to be working on next, or what I might be showing next. And definitely, you can join, you can chat with each other there, leave your pictures and stuff. Please, no spam mail. I want to see pictures of what you're creating and what you're making and what delights you on. It's to do with the art, with creating and making stuff, because that's why I'm called Manny's Makings, because I like to make things. And this is what I'm making right now. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this. It's not sitting still because it's sitting in my finger. I hope you enjoyed this and video and tutorial. And again, please like and subscribe. Check out my Etsy page. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.